I came home early on a random Thursday, holding a bag of takeout and thinking I'd surprise my wife, Emily. We'd been distant lately, too distant, and I thought maybe a small gesture might break the ice. But when I walked into the hallway, I froze. Her voice. A man's voice. Laughter. Not just any man, Ethan. My coworker. My friend. I stepped closer toward the kitchen, and before I even saw them, something felt wrong. Like the air was heavier, charged. When I finally turned the corner, they jumped apart so fast it was almost cartoonish. Emily's face flushed. Ethan's hand was still halfway raised, as if he touched her shoulder a second earlier. Neither spoke. Neither had to. In that moment, everything inside me tightened into a single, terrifying thought. This wasn't the first time they were alone together. And I had no idea how deep the rabbit hole went. "Hey!" Emily said too brightly. "We were just talking." Ethan nodded, avoiding my eyes. "Talking. Right. I got off early," I muttered. "Didn't know we had company." Emily flinched at the word we. I noticed Ethan's jacket tossed casually over our dining chair, like he'd been there a while. Too comfortable. Too familiar. "Actually," Ethan said, grabbing his jacket, "I should probably head out." He left so fast he barely breathed. The door clicked shut. Emily avoided my eyes. And I asked the stupidest question of my life. "Is there something I should know?" She smiled, small and brittle. "No. Of course not." But her voice shook. And that was the first lie. That night, she slept facing the wall. She'd been doing that a lot. No more late-night conversations. No more movie nights. No more spontaneous kisses in the kitchen. Just silence. I lay awake replaying every interaction between Emily and Ethan. Every work event. Every time she said she was going for a walk. Every random smile she sent her phone. And the awful realization hit me. I'd been losing her for months, and I pretended not to notice. The next morning, she acted normal. Too normal. She made coffee, hummed quietly, avoided any topic with emotional weight. When she left for work, she kissed my cheek like someone performing a role out of habit. And while her lips were on my skin, I felt absolutely nothing. Just emptiness. 2 days later, Emily asked me to hand her phone from the couch. It lit up in my hand. A notification. A preview. A knife to the gut. "Ethan, are we still on for tonight? I can't stop thinking about you." My chest tightened so hard it hurt. I stared at the screen, frozen. Every instinct screamed at me to unlock the phone. To read everything. To confirm the worst. But I didn't. I couldn't bring myself to cross that line. Instead, I set her phone back down like it burned me. She walked in, unbothered, smiling faintly. "Ready to go?" she asked. I nodded, even though everything inside me was spiraling. Tonight? Tonight she was supposed to work late. That evening, she left the house wearing her "I'm exhausted" face and comfortable clothes. But as soon as she got in her car, she fixed her hair, applied lip gloss in the rearview, and changed into heels she'd hidden under the passenger seat. I watched from the living room window, heart sinking. She drove away. And for the first time in my marriage, I followed her. I stayed a few cars back. Not close enough to be obvious, not far enough to lose her. She pulled into a quiet parking lot near a small downtown restaurant. A romantic one. Ethan's car was already there. I felt my entire world collapse inward. I didn't get out. Didn't confront them. I just watched them meet outside the restaurant. And when Ethan reached out, brushed a strand of hair behind her ear, and Emily leaned into his touch, I knew. They went inside together. I stayed in my car, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. I wanted to storm in. Flip tables. Ask her how she could do this. But something stopped me. She smiled at him. A real smile. One I hadn't seen directed at me in months. and that hurt worse than any physical blow. Instead, I drove home, walked into our silent house, sat at the kitchen table staring at the empty chair across from me. My wife was out on a date with my colleague, and I couldn't even bring myself to call her. Because deep down, I needed to know. Was this emotional? Or physical? Or both? Either way, I was losing her. When Emily came home, it was late. Too late. She smelled like wine and lavender perfume. "Hey," she whispered, almost guilty. "You're still up?" I wanted to scream, "Who are you with?" Instead, I said, "How was work?" She froze for half a second before forcing a smile. "Busy." Another lie. I watched her carefully, letting silence stretch. She avoided eye contact, went straight to the shower. I sat on the couch listening to the water run, feeling something inside me quietly break. When she finally came out, she said softly, "Is everything okay between us?" The question hit me like a cruel joke. But I nodded anyway. Because I wasn't ready to lose her. Not yet. The next day at work, Ethan avoided me like I had the plague. He usually joked around, stopped by my desk, asked about weekend plans. Not today. Today, he couldn't look at me. At lunch, I finally cornered him. "You and Emily seem close," I said casually. His fork slipped from his hand. "What?" No, man, she's your wife, I'd never." He tripped over every word, face burning red. And as he stumbled through denials, I realized something important. People only panic like that when something is true. But his reaction wasn't what I expected. It wasn't guilt. It was fear. That evening, Emily came home shaking. Not crying, shaking. She sat on the couch, pulled her knees up, and whispered, "I need to tell you something." My heart dropped. She looked destroyed, like whatever she was about to say was tearing her apart. "I didn't mean for anything to happen," she said. "I swear I didn't. I was lonely. You were distant. We stopped talking. We stopped touching. And I felt invisible." Tears welled in her eyes. "I didn't plan it with Ethan. It just happened." There it was. The truth. But hearing it didn't make it hurt any less. My voice cracked when I asked, "How long?" And when she answered, my world tilted. 3 months, she whispered. 3 months. 90 days of secrets. 90 days of lies. 90 days of choosing someone else over me. "Was it physical?" I forced out. The silence that followed was louder than any scream. She didn't nod. She didn't shake her head. She just cried. And that was enough. It said everything. I felt sick. Like all the air in the room had vanished. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. I couldn't touch her. Not then. Not after that. The next day, Ethan cornered me in the parking lot. "Please," he begged. "Let me explain. I don't want excuses." He shook his head desperately. "She told me you two were basically over," he said. "She said you didn't talk anymore, that you were checked out." My jaw clenched. "She told me you didn't love her." That one hurt. Deep. "And I believed her," he said. "I shouldn't have. I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you." I didn't respond. Because there was nothing left to say. That night, Emily and I sat across from each other at the kitchen table, the same table where we used to talk about dreams, vacations, baby names. Now we sat like strangers. "I ended it," she whispered. "With Ethan. It's over." I didn't celebrate. Didn't feel relief. Just exhaustion. She reached out. "I want to fix us." I stared at her hand. The hand that held someone else not long ago. "I just need to know one thing," I said. "If I hadn't come home early that day, would you have told me?" Her eyes filled with tears. She didn't answer. And that was the answer. We slept in the same bed but oceans apart. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to Emily quietly sobbing into her pillow. "I'm so sorry," she whispered into the dark. "I ruined everything." For the first time in months, she reached for me, not to lie, not to hide, but because she was breaking too. I let her hold my arm. Not because I forgave her, but because letting go that night felt too final. We lay there in silence, the weight of everything pressing down on us. And I knew something neither of us wanted to say out loud. Sometimes love doesn't die in a moment. It dies slowly, from neglect, until someone else fills the silence. The next morning, we finally talked, really talked, for the first time in months. We went through every hurt, every moment we drifted apart, every sign we ignored. "I loved you," she said. "I still do. But I wasn't happy." "I loved you too," I said. "And I should have seen you slipping away." We cried. We apologized. We admitted the truth neither wanted to face. We both let the relationship wither until someone else stepped in. And although she begged me not to leave, I knew I had to. Not out of anger, but because staying would turn us into ghosts haunting the ruins of something once beautiful. When I walked out of our house for the last time, Emily hugged me so tight I felt her shaking. "I'll always love you," she whispered. "I'll always love who we used to be," I replied. We didn't shout. We didn't hate. We didn't destroy each other. Sometimes the most painful endings are the quiet ones. As I drove away, I realized something important. People don't cheat when everything is perfect. They cheat when the silence gets louder than the love. I learned that communication isn't a luxury, it's the oxygen a relationship breathes. And if you stop talking, stop noticing, stop caring, someone else eventually will. But I also learned this. Healing doesn't come from holding on to someone who broke you. It comes from choosing yourself again. And for the first time in a long time, I finally did.